Hey Tuto girls! For today's activity, we're going to make a flower collage that you can give to your moms. To make our collage, you're going to need some glue and a few sheets of paper. So more precisely, we're going to need one large sheet of paper to protect our workstation, and then two other smaller sheets of paper to make our flowers and our flower pot. We're also going to need one pencil, one pair of scissors. We're also going to need a painting palette where we can mix all different kinds of colors to make our flowers. And then we're also going to need a glass of water to rinse our paintbrushes and a stick of glue to glue everything together at the end. So we're going to take our first sheet of paper here to make the background of our flower pot. And then we have our other sheets of paper to cut out the flowers. So let's start with our first sheet here. And we're going to put the rest aside afterwards, where we're going to make all of our little flowers and stems and our flower pot. And using this piece right here on our workstation, we have multiple different colors, but we're going to use our big paintbrush, dip it in a bit of water, and use the light blue here on the left-hand side to paint the sky. Then we have dark green, light green, yellow, red, and orange. And all of these colors are going to help us later make our flowers, the stems, the petals, and the leaves. But the light blue here is the one that we're going to use. We have the most amount of it because it's going to paint the entire background of our flower set. So go ahead and take a little water, put your biggest paintbrush into the light blue paint, and paint right across the entire sheet of paper. Left to right, left to right. And remember, you can make light blue by mixing dark blue and white together if you don't have light blue paint with you. Perfect. And remember, try not to add too much water. The more water you add, the more it'll curl up on the sides. We want to keep our masterpiece nice and flat, so when we want to show everyone at the end. A little bit more water. It's going to be a really nice, bright background. It's going to look really good against the red and the orange of the flowers. Perfect. So you're going to have just your fingers up alongside to keep the paper nice and straight. Try and spread the paint evenly throughout the paper so there's not one area that's too wet. Up against the sides here, covering up all of the white space. Back and forth. If you get paint on your fingertips, don't worry, we can wash them later. Nice. All right, almost done here, just fixing the last little spots. Fabulous. So now we're going to take our background and we're just going to put it right aside so it can dry. So by the time we're done making our flowers, it'll be nice and dry for us to post them on. So I'm going to take my little towel here and wipe everything because I don't want to get blue paint on the rest of my project. Kind of hard to take off, but using a little soap later, it'll come right off. Then I'm going to take my next sheet of paper, and using this sheet of paper, I'm going to take my pencil, nice and sharpened, and here we're going to draw our flower pot and then the leaves. So to do the flower pot, just do a straight line here, right across, and a semicircle down below. So that's going to be our pot. And then up above here, just do a little bit of a loopy. And these are going to be our leaves for the flower pot. So we're going to do 4 of these, just like that. And a 5th one down below. Perfect. So we're going to cut those out later. Get a new sheet of paper. And here we're going to have our stems for our flowers and the flower heads. So we need enough room to make 4 of these. So leave a little bit of room between each flower, but not too much room. So you have enough space to draw 4 flowers. And again, the tops don't have to be perfect. I'm just doing like a little fluffy ball on top. Perfect. So now I'm going to go back to this sheet and I'm going to cut out all of the various pieces. But first I'm going to paint because it'll be easier to paint everything on my single sheet. So take your paintbrush, dip it into the water, and I'm going to use the dark green paint for my leaves. So dip it a little bit here, outline your leaves. Gorgeous. And fill them in. You could also use the light green paint for your leaves, any kind of green that you think would look nice. Oh, a little bit too much on there. Nice and easy. It's much easier to color inside the leaves once you've kind of drawn out the outside. That way it looks nice. Perfect. A little more green here. This green looks really nice and kind of majestic, like a deep forest green, kind of emeraldy. See, the leaves are kind of like, it's like a teardrop shape. Perfect. Now my last one. Definitely bright summer, spring summer leaves, not like the red, orangey, autumnal leaves. Great, so now I'm going to clean my paintbrush. You can also use a bit of a skinnier one, and we're going to decorate our flower pot. So I'm going to use this kind of lime green color, and I'm going to do some polka dots. So you could decorate your flower pot however you want, but I'm just going to do little round circles here, up on top. Take a little bit more paint, and just do these little spots. You can see it's really easy. You just do little circles. You know, they don't have to be perfectly even spaced. You can make the pot any kind of color you want. Perfect. Now we're going to put this aside. And now we're going to take our next sheet, and here we can start painting our 4 flowers. So let's get our paintbrush. This is kind of a medium thickness one. Again, if you don't have as many paintbrushes as I have, no problem. You can just use one and rinse it. So I'm taking my lime green, and I'm just drawing right along the stems of the flowers that we drew before. And it's really going to match nicely with the color of the polka dots I drew on my pot. So up and down, right alongside my drawing. Perfect. I think my first flower, I'm going to make it this nice bright yellow. So I'm going to clean my brush to get all of the green off. I think that yellow will look really nice and bright. So here, the way I'm going to paint it, it's going to be kind of rough, you'll see. So we're just trying to get the shape here. Kind of making this big flowery puff right up top. Make it really nice and bright yellow, so I'm going to add a little more paint. And basically, when we cut out the flower with the scissors, we can determine the shape of the petals and the shape of the flower a little bit more. I'm going to make my next flower orange. And you can make your flowers any color you want. You can make them purple, you can make them pink, you can make them blue. Perfect. I never forget to clean my brush because once the colors start mixing, then it gets a little bit trickier to have a really nice bright orange or a nice bright red. All right, so my third flower is nice and red, a little bit bigger than the other ones. And the same thing for my last flower. I'm also going to make it red because that color really pops. I think I'm going to give this drawing to my mom, and she loves red. So the more red flowers, the better. Perfect. So now we're going to put this sheet of paper aside with my beautiful flowers. Have them dry. I'm going to take my first sheet of paper, and now I'm going to start cutting them out with my scissors. So grab your scissors, and again, be careful, and start cutting what we're going to do is basically separate out all the shapes. So we're kind of doing this rough cut where we can cut out each of the leaves individually. So then we'll better be able to cut them more cleanly at the very end. So let's start with our flower pot. Now, there's all different kinds of shapes and sizes of flower pot, but I like this nice big wide pot because our flowers are so big. It's going to need a nice big pot at the bottom to hold them all. Great. I'm just going to trim up the side here. Great. And be careful, you guys, again, when you're cutting. And watch out with your fingers. The paint might still be wet. Putting that aside, and now I'm going to quickly cut out my leaves. If you're not cutting as fast as me, don't worry. We can put the video on pause and take your time. Cut out each of my little leaves here. You can even cut them out to be slightly different sizes. I just want my flower pot to look really nice and full with tons of leafy greenness. All right. Little flower here. Trim it right around. Pop them over to the side. Now I've got my, almost my last leaf. Perfect, right around there. You could even give this as a gift to someone if you can't go out and buy some real flowers. For Mother's Day, for a birthday, maybe even to your teacher. It's kind of even more special because you can make flowers that don't even really exist. You can kind of imagine your wildest kind of flower that you'd want to have exist. So now we're going to cut out each of the flowers that we drew on our second sheet of paper. So just snip them right through between. If you cut each one out at first, it'll make things easier. And our two red ones. Perfect. I'm going to just come right up right along the stem. And when you get to the flower head, you can, you don't have to follow the drawing exactly. You can kind of weave it around here. Maybe you want the flower to look a little more curvy, a little more round. Just use your scissors to help guide you. And be careful with your fingers again. I know the cutting can be a little bit tricky on this part. Just kind of weave your scissors around. Great. I think these flowers kind of look like... Oh, be careful there. Don't want to cut off the stem. Trim. We're almost done with our first one. So just remember to leave a little bit of room between the stem and the flower so the flower head doesn't fall off. I don't know what kind of flower I drew. It kind of looks like a poppy. I don't know if you know what a poppy flower looks like, but it's like these nice big red and pink flowers that you can find a lot in the prairie side. These are kind of imaginary flowers. So up and around. I kind of want them to look like really fluffy, like cotton candy or like a lollipop. And then snip them right up. Perfect. So maybe for this project you want to, next time you can do a flower that's, maybe it's your mom's favorite flower, it's your aunt's favorite flower, your grandma's favorite flower, and make her a bouquet that's going to last forever. So she can frame this. Since flowers aren't always in season, the kind that we really like. When you have a drawing of it, it'll last forever. I'm kind of just wiggling around here. Almost done with my orange guy. Snipping right up. Perfect. Pull out the rest and just be careful right at the level where the stem meets the flower head. It can get a little bit tricky there. I'm going to wipe my fingers. I want to make sure I don't get any other fresh paint on my project. And do a little trim there to make sure the stem is nice and clean. And now I'm just working on my last nice bright yellow flower. It's almost like a daisy meets a lemon. Perfect. See, I'm kind of doing it on purpose to cut them a little bit wobbly here so it looks like petals. So it's not like a perfect round circle. But you can do it any which way you want. Great. Pull out the little scraps. And now we have all of the components of our bouquet ready to go. So we're going to take our background here, put it back on our workstation. We can kind of start to arrange how do we want the flowers to look. Start putting them down here. Looking at them. So I think that's what I want them to look like, just like that. And then my leaves, I'm going to kind of just scatter them here at the bottom so it'll hide the ends of the stems. Perfect. And my pot. That's going to look so pretty. So basically, now that I know what it's going to look like, I have to glue everything down. So let's take our flowers one by one. Grab your glue stick and start right up the stem here and up on the flower. And make sure you get a little bit on every single part of the flower so it really sticks nicely. And put down your first flower exactly where you want it and pat down lightly with your fingers. Yeah, make sure you get the ends there because or else it's going to kind of pop up. Okay, so from our yellow flower, I'm adding a little bit here. Be careful when you put the glue right on the stem. You don't want to rip the stem. Awesome. Going to have it kind of angle in all towards each other so the bouquet looks really nice and full. Using my palms to pat it down. Yeah, usually I try to put in a nice little coat of glue, not too much in one area, kind of an even coat all throughout. And be careful with that little stem there and pat it down slightly with your palms or with your fingers. Just don't pat down too hard or else you can get some of the paint on your fingers. And then our last little flower here. They look so pretty already. Okay, so now we have our leaves. So we're going to glue down our leaves right over the little kind of stem meeting point. And I'm going to have them go upwards. So it's going to make the bouquet look really nice and fluffy and full. Maybe you made your leaves a little bit bigger than mine. Maybe a little bit smaller. There's no wrong answer. Your bouquet is your bouquet. Perfect. Look how much nicer that looks once the leaves are there. Gorgeous. Just patting it right down. And then my last leaf here, I'm going to have it cover the last little piece of stem so the bouquet looks nice. And now my flower pot. So I'm just going to rearrange the leaves a little so that they all poke out of the pot. I think that's going to look good. So I'm going to glue this little baby down. Remember, glue it all around because you don't want it to pop up from the collage. Put it down, use your fingers, press all around. Perfect. We're almost done here. So now we're just going to take our paintbrush. I'm going to use like a medium thickness one. Again, you can use any kind of paintbrush. I happen to have quite a few. So first I'm going to take some of this red paint and I'm going to add some of the petal detailing in my yellow flower. So just kind of like swooshing it around, making kind of little swirls so it looks like petals. It's kind of like an abstract flower. So now I'm going to take some yellow, a little too much, and do the same thing on my red. Whatever color you choose to do the detailing in your flower, I'd try to make sure that it's kind of, different from the color that you have in the background so it really pops out. So look at that, the yellow on the red, it's really coming right out. Cleaning my brush, taking a little bit of that dark green, which is going to pop out nicely on my orange. Fabulous. Great job, girls. Your bouquet looks beautiful. So Tuto girls, here's our beautiful flower collage. I think your moms or your grandmas are really going to love it. I'd love to see your collages, so please send them in to tutokid.com. Hope to see you soon.